Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Whoa, there is some demand for Pokemon cards at the moment, isn't there? Hey, Surging Sparks and the new Evolutions, Prismatic Evolutions set has just driven the internet and people, collectors, investors absolutely crazy. It's been a little while since we've seen something like this. So I thought it fitting to do a video around two very basic economic principles, supply and demand. Before we sort of delve into each one, I guess the question, if it were to be a debate, is, what actually causes Pokemon card prices to go up? Is it supply or is it demand? And to give a little bit of background, before we look at each one individually and I suppose aim to come to some sort of conclusion on it, is just to talk about the landscape briefly. So, of course, Prismatic Evolutions sold out extremely quickly on the Pokemon Center for things like the Pokemon Center Elite Trainer Box. Surging Sparks is sold out on so many websites in booster box form, and it feels like we're back towards the end of 2020/2021. Now, I want to make a distinct difference between then and now, in case you weren't in the hobby back then. It seems that back then, it's almost a no-brainer that that hype was driven by a lot of unnatural demand. We had influencers really spruiking the hobby. We had, obviously COVID and a lot of people in lockdown and people sitting inside with nothing better to do. And, that nicety of reliving, opening Pokemon card packs was really important for a lot of people. There was government stimulus checks nationwide that were, being spent on all different things, plasma TVs, collectibles alike. So it feels like the demand was almost unnatural, whereas now the demand almost feels very natural. It's like there's so many economies around the world that are just battling, yet the Pokemon card world is bucking the trend. What can be more natural than that? The demand is really based off the sets that are being released, the artwork, the chase cards, the colors, the Pokemon, you name it. It's a natural demand directed exactly at the product. So that's the differentiation I wanted to make between then and now. Hey, before we jump into the debate, if you haven't got yourself the Shiny app, that is the sponsor of today's video. I urge yourself to do so. If you do have it, please do the latest update because that's what I wanted to talk you through today. The Shiny app, of course, it's your one-stop shop for collectors and investors. You can put the whole collection in there. As an investor, you can see the trends of both singles and sealed product. You can see what percentage you've gained across your whole collection. But most importantly with this update, if you click on the search tab, you can now filter by set. So if you click on filter by set, it will go from newest to oldest. So Stellar Crown sitting at the top there. You can filter once you're inside it by price high to low, which I like to do because I like to see what's performing the best in the set in terms of chase cards. This is a great set. I've had it for a while now. Great set, great app. I've had it for a while now, so I'll leave the description and the links to download the app in the description of the video. So hey, jump on board. Most people have been absolutely loving it. Anyway, on to the topic at hand, demand supply. Let's start with demand, hey. So when it comes to demand for Pokemon card sets, you think, okay, what actually drives that demand? And I think there's several factors. The first one, of course, generally speaking, is the cards inside the set. So if the set has a good set list, there's generally going to be some demand for it. Now, I think the IP of Pokemon just brings about some natural demand anyway. It's so big and so huge, people will just buy up anyway. Not only that, people trust the product. That is a big one. Look at Prismatic Evolutions. Other than what the 9 EV cards released, we don't know what any of the illustration rares or special illustration rares look like, and it's selling out like crazy. If that doesn't show you that there's huge trust in the IP of Pokemon and the creators and the developers and the illustrators of the Pokemon card TCG, then I don't know what will. I work for Toyota, and the new Land Cruiser Prado is about to hit Australia, and it's the same thing. The pre-orders we got on that car is phenomenal. And it's from people that haven't even driven the car or sat in it or even seen one in person. They just trust the brand, most importantly, and have seen pictures and have just gone, wow, this thing is something that I want. And therefore, people pre-order it, much like they do in the Pokemon card world. So that's a couple of things. Now, I think there's also a bit of herd mentality that can drive demand for a Pokemon card set. And that is, if everyone else is doing it, well, it must be a good thing, so I better jump on as well. So I think, those three things: trust in the Pokemon IP, the set. So how good are the cards? How good are the chase cards? What do the top 10 hits look like? What is the depth? What is the total set value? How good is the Pokemon card set on paper? And then finally, that herd mentality. What's driving people to the set? And then if there are lots of people being driven to the set, people seem to want to jump on board that train, don't they? I think that simplistically almost sums up demand. So with that demand, is that what's driving price up, or is it more supply? And that's what I wanted to touch on now before I guess we come to some sort of conclusion on it. Now, supply is so basic, isn't it? Like you can't get any more basic than supply is the total number of products released. So if it's a booster box set, how many booster boxes are we getting? If it's an Elite Trainer box set, holiday set, how many Elite Trainer boxes are we getting? How many total packs? How many total cards are being produced? How many total PSA 10 copies are we going to get of the chase cards? All those things is supply. How many reprints is it going to get? These things ultimately sum up supply. So I know they're very simplistic ways almost of looking at a very complicated issue, but let's try and get to the crux of it. So what is actually the thing? Is it supply or demand? Is it the chicken and egg dichotomy? I don't know. But here's my take on it, right? So we've seen, I guess this is my answer, we've seen supply, when it's low, drive sets up. We've seen a set like, think of XY base set and their Elite Trainer box prices. That set is arguably one of the worst base sets we've ever seen. Yes, it has a full art Blastoise and Venusaur and Vettel, but other than that, there's no chase cards inside it. But supply for the Elite Trainer boxes was so small. Another example, fast forwarding to Sun and Moon era, is, Dragon Majesty. Yes, it's got the word dragon in it, but there's not really any good chase cards inside it, yet the Elite Trainer boxes are worth an absolute mint. Fast forward to Sword and Shield era. What were the two lowest printed sets? The first two, Base Set and Rebel Clash. And what do you know? I think Rebel Clash saw a tiny, tiny reprint and Base Set didn't get any. And Base Set is one of the highest selling booster boxes from the whole era. What chase card is inside it? Nothing, basically. What, a Rainbow Snorlax? The supply has a massive, massive impact on the initial push that a Pokemon card set's booster box will have. Now, ultimately, I think a good Pokemon card set, if demand outweighs supply, as in supply gets eaten up really quickly, and probably the best example we'll see of that is something like Evolving Skies from the Sword and Shield era, that it'll eventually overtake a lower printed set. So supply is huge. Supply is massively important. Imagine if there was one booster box of a set. Let's take it to the absolute extreme. They released one booster box of the newest set, but thousands and tens of thousands, millions of ETB, millions of blister packs, millions of 3-pack blisters, millions of collection boxes, but one booster box. What's it going to be worth? Name your price, hey? I know that's taking it to the extreme, but it shows how important supply is to the push up in price of a sealed Pokemon card product. It's massive. A lot of people think it's just the demand. Demand is really, really important, but what happens to a sealed Pokemon card product is it essentially becomes its own collectible. So I guess to summarize the whole argument is supply is really important, and if a set has low supply, you'll get initial boosts in the price. But once demand for a higher printed set, like a Lost Origin even, or a Fusion Strike, Evolving Skies, the example I just used, when demand starts eating up supply and it's a better set, so it has better chase cards, that's when that sealed product will overtake the weaker set, even though it has less supply. And then eventually you can get the perfect storm in a set like Team Up, which has I won't say amazing lineup, but a very good lineup. It has one hell of a chase card in that Latios and Latios. It has the Gengar and Mimikyu. You could argue perhaps Unified Minds and maybe, well, definitely Cosmic Eclipse are probably slightly better sets, but they had a heap more supply. But anyway, you get that perfect storm of a pretty damn good set with one hell of a stellar chase card and really low supply, and look at the outcome. So essentially, I guess the answer is the two almost work in unison with each other to produce and lift up sealed Pokemon card prices. Anyway, let's just enjoy the train at the moment. It is a wild ride. There is so much demand for the Pokemon IP at the moment in the trading card world. It's gone bonkers, hasn't it? I'm Michael. This is Pokeoz, and I'll catch everyone next time.